The Great Barrier Reef has bleached 6 times since 2016. Scientists predicted this frequency would not happen until 2070. Yet just inland from this ecological crisis, Indigenous Australians have successfully managed the same landscapes for 60,000 years using fire stick farming and traditional knowledge that prevented the megafires we see today. Australia is a continent of impossible contradictions. Ancient wisdom meets modern crisis. Isolation creates both resilience and vulnerability. The numbers tell a story nobody expected. These 15 geography facts reveal how Australia became the most extreme place on Earth. Ancient foundations and modern crises. The landscape you see across Australia today was engineered by Indigenous peoples through fire stick farming. For 60,000 years, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities used controlled burns to create grasslands, prevent catastrophic wildfires, and manage ecosystems at a continental scale. They were not random fires. They followed seasonal calendars, totemic obligations, and detailed knowledge of plant cycles that European colonization nearly destroyed. The evidence is staggering. Rock structures still visible today show where Indigenous peoples herded kangaroos and trapped fish. Grain storage systems fed populations through droughts. The techniques worked so well that early European settlers relied on Indigenous guidance to find the best grasses for their cattle. But here's what changes everything about the reef crisis. The Great Barrier Reef has now experienced 4 mass bleaching events since 2016 alone. The 2024 and 2025 events marked the first time both the Great Barrier Reef and Ningaloo Reef bleached simultaneously. We're watching the world's largest living structure collapse at a pace that breaks every scientific prediction. The contrast reveals Australia's geographic paradox. While ancient land management sustained populations for millennia, modern pressures are overwhelming natural systems faster than anyone anticipated. Yet the story is changing. The Indigenous estate now covers more land than Australia's entire agricultural sector. Native title holders exercise rights alongside pastoral leases, creating a mosaic of traditional and modern land use that spans the continent. This is not just symbolic, it is practical conservation at massive scale. The numbers prove the point. Indigenous protected areas, established in 1997, now integrate into the National Reserve System under international conservation categories. Indigenous rangers perform tasks from weed control to erosion prevention, using both traditional knowledge and modern technology, like incendiary devices for controlled burns. Traditional ecological knowledge guides modern conservation efforts through programs that blend ancestral methods with contemporary tools. Healthy country plans secure funding for partnerships between Indigenous communities and government agencies. The approach works because it is based on 60,000 years of successful ecosystem management. Australia's isolation for 60 million years created unique evolutionary paths that shaped both the crisis and the solutions. When the continent separated from Gondwana, it carried species that evolved in complete isolation from other land masses. This geographic separation explains why Australia's flora and fauna are unlike anywhere else on Earth. The isolation created resilience through adaptation, but also vulnerability through specialization. Species that evolved in isolation lack defenses against introduced threats. Ecosystems that sustained themselves for millions of years now face pressures they never encountered. But isolation also preserved traditional ecological knowledge that offers solutions. Indigenous fire management prevents the megafires that devastate landscapes managed under European methods. Cool burning reduces fuel loads, protects habitat, and maintains the mosaic of vegetation types that support biodiversity. The geographic truth is becoming clear. Australia's ancient foundations provide blueprints for managing modern crises. Indigenous rangers now monitor species, restore habitats, and manage fires across vast areas. Their work combines customary obligations with conservation science, creating approaches that benefit both cultural preservation and environmental protection. The Indigenous estate's expansion represents a fundamental shift in how Australia manages its geography. Traditional owners exercise rights over landscapes their ancestors shaped, using knowledge systems that sustained populations through ice ages, droughts, and climate shifts. This continuity of management offers lessons for addressing current environmental challenges. The connection between ancient wisdom and modern conservation is reshaping how we understand Australian geography. Fire stick farming, seasonal calendars, and totemic obligations are not historical curiosities. They are active management tools being applied to contemporary problems across the continent. Over half of Australian desert animals live underground to survive the extremes. This is not just occasional burrowing. It is a complete lifestyle shift that defines how life exists in the harshest landscapes on Earth. The numbers reveal the scale of this adaptation. More than 50% of desert species spend their lives in subterranean refuges, emerging only when conditions allow survival above ground. The underground world creates its own ecosystem. Burrows maintain humidity, while surface temperatures swing from scorching days to freezing nights. Animals like bilbies and dunnerts construct elaborate tunnel systems that provide insulation, protection, and stable microclimates. These are not simple holes. They are engineered environments that make life possible where it should not exist. But the most extreme example comes from desert frogs that burrow for years, emerging only after rare rainfall events to breed. These amphibians use spade-like feet to dig deep into sandy soils, then enter a state called estivation. They can remain dormant underground for multiple years, surviving on stored body fat and minimal metabolism until rain triggers their emergence. The timing is everything. When rare rainfall finally arrives, these frogs must complete their entire breeding cycle in weeks before the temporary pools evaporate. They have synchronized their life cycles with Australia's unpredictable weather patterns, gambling everything on brief windows of opportunity that might not come for years. Spinifex grasses dominate landscapes with hummock structures that capture precious runoff. These aren't ordinary grasses. Spinifex species form distinctive clumps that create a patchy landscape of fertile islands where nutrients and moisture concentrate. The hummock structure channels rare rainfall toward root systems, maximizing water capture in environments where every drop matters. The Spinifex adaptation reveals Australia's geographic isolation at work. These grasses evolved unique solutions because they couldn't migrate from other continents. Ocean barriers prevented plant exchange, forcing local species to develop specialized traits found nowhere else on Earth. Australian deserts lack cacti entirely. This absence proves how isolation shaped evolution. While other desert continents developed succulent plants with water-storing tissues, Australia's flora evolved different strategies. Isolation prevented cactus migration from the Americas, forcing Australian plants to solve water scarcity through alternative adaptations. Instead of succulents, Australia developed plants with small, waxy, hairy leaves that reflect heat and minimize water loss. Mulga trees exemplify this approach, using grayish foliage to reduce surface area and trap moist air near leaf surfaces. These adaptations work differently than cacti, but achieve similar water conservation goals. Marsupials replaced rodents in desert ecosystems, creating unique evolutionary solutions. This replacement demonstrates how isolation drives different evolutionary paths toward similar ecological roles. While other continents rely on rodents for small mammal niches, Australia's marsupials fill these positions with species like hopping mice and dunnerts. Hopping mice show the most remarkable adaptation. They produce water from their food, and they concentrate urine to survive without drinking. Their kidneys extract the maximum water from seeds and vegetation, while their digestive systems metabolize additional water as food breaks down. These mice can live indefinitely without external water sources, thriving in landscapes where other mammals would perish. The isolation that created these adaptations also makes them vulnerable. Species that evolved in isolation lack defenses against introduced threats, such as feral cats and European weeds. The same geographic separation that drove unique evolution now threatens survival, as global connections bring unprecedented pressures to isolated ecosystems. Living systems under pressure. The water crisis reaches its extreme with hopping mice that produce water from their food and concentrate urine to survive without drinking. These remarkable rodents represent the pinnacle of desert adaptation. Their kidneys function like biological desalination plants, extracting every molecule of water from seeds and vegetation while producing urine, so concentrated it is nearly solid. The process is extraordinary. Hopping mice break down carbohydrates and fats to generate metabolic water, then concentrate waste products to minimize water loss. Their populations surge after rare rainfall events, taking advantage of brief abundance before returning to survival mode. This boom-bust cycle defines life in Australia's harshest environments. Mulga trees use small, waxy, hairy leaves to reflect heat and minimize water loss. The adaptation goes beyond simple size reduction. Each leaf surface is covered with microscopic hairs that trap humid air, creating a protective boundary layer that reduces evaporation. The waxy coating reflects solar radiation, keeping leaf temperatures below lethal thresholds. The grayish appearance of mulga forests reveals this heat management strategy at landscape scale. Entire ecosystems have evolved to reflect rather than absorb solar energy, creating a visual signature of extreme adaptation. These trees can access groundwater through deep taproots, while their surface adaptations handle the thermal extremes above ground. Ephemeral plants like Sturt's desert pea remain dormant for years, then complete entire life cycles in weeks. This timing is one of nature's most extreme gambling strategies. Seeds lie buried in sandy soils, waiting for rainfall that might not come for many years. When rain finally arrives, germination must happen immediately. The life cycle compression is staggering. Plants that remain dormant for years complete germination, growth, flowering, and seed production in just weeks before temporary moisture disappears. Sturt's desert pea exemplifies this strategy, producing brilliant red flowers that transform barren landscapes into temporary gardens before returning to dormancy. The 2024 to 2025 bleaching events marked the first time both the Great Barrier Reef and Ningaloo Reef bleached simultaneously. This simultaneous impact represents a geographic escalation of climate pressure. Australia's two major reef systems, separated by the entire continent, experienced mass bleaching at the same time during the fourth global bleaching event. The timing reveals how climate change is overwhelming natural resilience. While reefs historically recovered between bleaching events, the frequency has accelerated beyond recovery capacity. The 2025 event followed immediately after 2024, marking the second consecutive bleaching sequence after 2016 to 2017. Desert blooms transform barren landscapes into carpets of flowers after rare rainfall events. These spectacular displays represent the payoff for extreme adaptation strategies. Ephemeral plants that waited years in dormancy suddenly burst into synchronized flowering, creating landscapes that seem impossible in desert environments. The blooms attract nomadic birds like budgerigars that track rainfall across the continent. These parrots follow weather patterns, arriving precisely when seed production peaks. The timing and coordination between plants, rainfall, and animal movement reveals the complex geographic relationships that sustain life in Australia's extremes. The pressure on these living systems is intensifying. Climate change amplifies the extremes that drove these remarkable adaptations, pushing species beyond their tolerance limits. The same isolation that created unique solutions now limits escape options, as conditions shift faster than evolution can respond. Australia's isolation created both extraordinary resilience and dangerous vulnerability. Ancient Indigenous wisdom offers proven solutions for modern crises, while unique adaptations face unprecedented pressures. The continent's geographic extremes shaped life, unlike anywhere else on Earth. Watch the next video to discover how geography determines which nations dominate the world.